back here on the Art Fort Lauderdale podcast with Sonya Sanchez. If you are not familiar with Art Fort Lauderdale, we created the first art fair on the water that takes place in luxury waterfront homes off the Los Olas Intercoastal Waterways of Fort Lauderdale. We make the only mode of transportation via boat. It's a true experience. It's a true opportunity for discovery and a great day on the water. So we encourage you to join us January 24th through 27th, 2019. And the point of the podcast is to connect you with a talented artist like her, so you can get to know a little bit more of their stories, a little bit more about what goes into their works. And Sonya has quite the work here. So without much further ado, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and your background?
Okay, so my name is Sonya Sanchez Arias. I'll add the Arias on there because it's easier to find me that way. I am born in Trinidad and born into a very creative family. My mother was an artist. Her friends were artists. I left Trinidad at a young age and came up to school in Canada and went to the University of Western Ontario studying journalism, and then I decided I wanted to do art, photography. So I left and I went into an art school for 2 years and worked on a portfolio and went to Rochester Institute of Technology. And there I studied photography and got a BFA in fine art and photographic sciences. And that will tie in because I'm a bit of a mad scientist when you start to discover my new mixed media assemblage art. But I did graduate as a photographer in photography, fine art photography, and then I moved back to Miami and married a commercial photographer. So pretty much my entire life I've been earning a living off of my art and off of my creativity, myself and my husband for 30 years now. But I also do a lot of personal projects, and I've always been doing that. I really do a lot of mixed media. And it's not just, and when I say mixed media, I mean I am known for my paper dresses, I'm known for my iPhone art, my photography, I make art jewelry. Everything I do though is all tied together because I used found objects, materials, I use things and I transform them. Amazing. So I want to say my work is a lot about transformation and possibilities, whatever medium I work in, whether it's paper, my jewelry that's made out of plastics and spoons and forks and all that, all different kinds of found objects. So my mixed media assemblages here, this is my new body of work and my new way of expressing the things that I want to talk about right now, the things I feel passionately about right now, and I think mixed media is a fantastic way to bring all those talents together. I can use photography, I can transform materials, use found objects, paint, use fabrics, threads. It's fabulous. It's limitless. So I'm really into this right now.
It's very exciting, and I mean we see a lot of work, and I don't find too many pieces, or we don't find too many pieces as such. For those that are able to see on the video, would you be so kind to explain a little bit about these two pieces here?
Sure. This piece is my newest piece, and it's called Purgatory. For those of you that don't know what purgatory is, it's that sort of place. It really comes from my Roman Catholic background and upbringing. It's that place in between heaven and hell, and for me it just refers to, I think all of us have a little bit of purgatory in us where we find ourselves stuck in between where we came from and where we want to be and where we want to go. And the hand up here says this way to heaven. All of my body parts, feathers, keys, all filled with red threads, hand-dyed threads, and then all the little hands down on the bottom with pennies from heaven. It was a piece I needed to make right now because I felt stuck and in this sort of transition between my old collection, my older collections and photography and work that people know me for, and this new body of work that I'm going into. So this is my latest piece, and it's all made out of found objects. I love,
Amazing.
yeah, I mean, for me, it's always about not what you think something should be, but what it can be. It's always about transformation and possibilities. So I always look at objects that I find and think, well, what could you be? What's your new purpose for existing? I'm very big on recycling materials. I think so much work goes into materials that people just toss away, throw in the trash, and so much design, so much effort, so many meetings, so much engineering goes into that bottle, that empty water bottle, and people just throw it away. And for me, I see it as an opportunity to give it a new life and create something that has a new purpose for existing. So,
and it's also a lot of storytelling involved.
yeah.
And there are so many layers in this piece that couldn't explain or couldn't capture, but why don't you tell us, this has been very intriguing to me.
Yeah, so that piece is called Reformed, and this was a submission that I did for a show called Free on the Inside, and it's about incarceration. It's nine cavities, 9 boxes, and the right side is all about the consequences of poor decisions. It's a lot of incarceration. It's I have little bottles. There's a lot. My work, you really need to come in close and discover it, and every time you look at it, you'll always discover new things. I really like my work to be intimate and smaller, so it forces the viewer to really come in close and study it. And I also usually put a title and maybe just a phrase, because I don't want to tell you what to think, but I want to just lead you there. I just want to drop a little hint, and I want you to think, to create your own ideas or connections with the piece. But on the left side of this piece, this side represents hope, freedom, freeing your mind. All of these are little actual letters and poems and work created by incarcerated people who have been incarcerated. All their little wishes and hopes and dreams are all, and they all come out, and you can actually read each poem and each story. There's a lot going on.
How did you source those?
I searched on the internet. I found letters, contacted people, and just printed out these letters. I mean, you can find anything on the internet, and there are so many heart-wrenching stories of dads writing to their daughters, of women who've been incarcerated who are just talking about if they had made different choices. And so I wanted this piece to be a transition between, we all make bad choices and we all suffer the consequences of those choices, and then going into a positive side. All of these little silver curls are all plastic forks that have melted and curled just to represent light and hopefulness. And there's a lot going on.
There is a lot. There's photos in here.
Yeah.
There are
a lot of
pieces.
symbols. There's a lot of prison language in there. A lot of symbols, but a lot of really beautiful, hopeful stories also in this whole honeycomb piece with all these scrolls in it.
Amazing. What would you say are some of your inspirations, either for this piece or some of your inspirations behind your work?
Current affairs, man. I am, like, right now, I can make a lot of pretty art, and I've made a lot of pretty art in the past, but right now there's just so much going on in the world, and I just need to I need to put it into my art. I just, I have a lot of pieces about social media and how many ways we have of connecting, and yet we are less able to connect now. I feel like it's all hanging by a thread, and so there's another piece that will be at Art Fort Lauderdale, and that one has a lot of information into it. It's from my Inside Out collection, and it's all in test tubes.
We're very excited
Yeah,
to have that piece, and like I said, I review a lot of submissions, Andrew and I, between the pieces that are submitted to the fair, and we very, very seldomly get things at this level of intrigue and I'm just amazed. Every time I look at it, I notice something different that I hadn't noticed before.
All even on the roof, on the tops, on the insides, every corner, there's something everywhere on that piece. That piece took me a little while to put together, and a big part of it too is the hunt for all the pieces. It's like a treasure hunt. It's like, it's funny because I'll write a list for my husband of the things I need, and it's like bullet casings, barbed wire,
letters from prison inmates,
handcuffs, and I put it out there on social media. Anybody have these things for me? And people are like, yeah, that sounds like fun, guys.
Power of social media.
Yeah.
It's a beautiful thing.
Yeah, it's a beautiful thing.
We are
doll parts. I mean, I have friends that arrive with like Ziploc bags filled with things for me. I'm that crazy lady that goes outside and pulls bark off of trees, and the neighbors get the kids inside. She's back. But it's really, I really see possibilities in everything, and my studio upstairs, you'll see that, when you do go and visit, not live. But I collect a lot of things that are already put aside for a specific piece. So there's lots of bits and pieces that I need, and I just start collecting it, and when they're all there, then I just do the build.
Well, we're very fortunate to have you and some of these amazing pieces coming to Art Fort Lauderdale. With you being well-traveled from Trinidad to Canada to Miami and U.S., and having seen a lot of things, what are you excited about? Or what are you looking forward to, or think is interesting with the Art Fort Lauderdale concept?
Well, the first time I heard about it was this year, and I was surprised that I haven't heard about it before. I just thought it was brilliant because there is so much art happening in Florida, from Miami up to Palm Beach, and then there's there's Fort Lauderdale right in the middle of it, and so many of the artists that I know so many of my friends live in Fort Lauderdale and the surrounding communities. So it's so strange to me that Fort Lauderdale wouldn't have a major art fair, because it just feels it's necessary. And just the populations, the communities, and the amount of people coming from all over the world. You have resources here of artists that have to travel outside of the area to show our work. I love exhibiting in Trinidad, and I've had my pieces in Barcelona and in Germany, but I can't even get to some of those shows, and then just shipping, like if you do a solo show in one of these places, it costs a fortune to ship back and forth. And it's not accessible to all of your friends, your community, and a lot of the people who would buy your art, they can't go to those shows to see it. So I think it's very timely and brilliant, and to have your work in these beautiful homes, which is where you want your work to be. It's just different from an art fair, which is these little booths that are overly crowded because they put so much work in there. And of course, the galleries and the other art shows. So I'm really looking forward to it.
You really hit the nail on the head, and that's some of the reasons that Andrew and I created this platform, was to not only highlight and showcase our talented local artists so that they don't have to travel to showcase their work. But also on the flip side, for the culture seekers like ourselves that live in Fort Lauderdale, we felt we shouldn't have to go other places to obtain these cultural experiences that we're seeking, that we're yearning for, if we know them or not. And, leveraging the assets of the city, from the Los Osos Intercoastal Waterways to the water taxi to the homes and the architecture.
And the art buyers, there's so many art buyers here in Florida. I mean, a lot of art buyers.
Yes, please come.
and just, I mean, you can look at art here in Fort Lauderdale or Miami or Palm Beach, and you can get art from around the world, from any culture that you can think about. It's one of the reasons I love Florida, because it's very multi-ethnic, multicultural, like Trinidad, where I'm from. And all of these people live here already in communities, and they're making art, beautiful art, that we don't have access to.
And you think about it, either coming from Trinidad or coming from another place where you're right. Where else in the world can you make a 30-minute drive down to the street art capital of the world, arguably in Wynwood, and have the largest, arguably, art fair, art week in the world with Miami Art Week and Art Basel, and then have world-class museums from the Perez to NSU Museum, and so on and so forth. So we are very fortunate, and but furthermore, to your point, we our artists shouldn't have to trek other places. We're trying to foster an environment and leverage these platforms that we've created so that our talented artists and creatives can be discovered, can be found, can be collected, can be supported, because also ultimately, without really a strong gallery scene in Fort Lauderdale, it's very tough for our artists locally to showcase their work. They have to go to the art fair, the art walks and the street fairs and stuff like that.
They go south or north. It just doesn't even make sense to me that Fort Lauderdale was sort of skipped over. But you guys are changing that. So I'm excited about it, because Fort Lauderdale is right in the middle of the two. 20 minutes this way, 30 minutes this way, 30 minutes that way, and you can have all of it. So
and with the town redeveloping, and with there being a big development boom, we also wanted to expand the fair outside of just the 3,000 limited attendees that we're making tickets available for this year.
Right.
So Andrew and I created Fort Lauderdale Art and Design Week to be a week full of satellite exhibits, pop-up events. We're having the first architectural tour with the local AIA chapter of Fort Lauderdale, artist talks, after parties, pop-up dinners, pairings with artists, brunches with artists, and we want to have this week really full of discovery and exploration opportunities, also aggregating and activating all of the cultural institutions in Fort Lauderdale, not only the NSU Museum and the Broward Center for Performing Arts, but having artist studio tours in Mass District and Fab Village, our two burgeoning arts districts, so that travelers, locals, and community members alike can discover some of our most talented artists if they're in the fair or not in the fair as well. So if you weren't aware, you can find out more at Fort Lauderdale Art and Design Week. We shortened as an acronym FTL80W, so www.ftl80w.com. Find out on social medias as well. And we have a week full of some really, really exciting programming scheduled, in addition to the fair, which is also very interesting and exciting. Where else can they find your work upcoming?
Okay, so upcoming, I am in the middle of working on a body of work, well, two bodies of work. There's my Inside Out mixed media assemblage, and then there's my art jewelry, which I am doing an exhibition in Trinidad in April. It's the third time I've been at that gallery, so that's great, and a lot of people come out to support me and buy my art, so that's wonderful. And until my Inside Out collection that's to be determined.
TBD.
Yeah, but you can always find me. You can Google me, Sonya Sanchez Arias. You can find me on Instagram.
What's your handle on Instagram?
Creative Child with an 8, CRE 8, Tiv Child. But you can also find me, you can Instagram me at Sonya Sanchez Arias or Sanchez Arias Photography, and you'll find me there.
And a talented commercial photographer as well.
Yes, you'll see a lot of my commercial work. I'm more known locally for my commercial work because I've been exhibiting outside of Florida, and I am so excited that I have been this whole year exhibiting inside of Florida because this is my home.
Amen.
I've lived here longer than I've lived in Trinidad,
Amen.
so it's really exciting. I'm
We
looking
appreciate
forward
you
to it.
welcoming us into your studio.
Thank you.
And that, that's another beautiful part of what we're trying to do here with the podcast is, not only connect attendees and interested community members with the artist stories, but also with works that you'll be able to see at the fair. The fair takes place January 24th through 27th, 2019. Tickets and more information can be found at www.artftlauderdale.com. That's www.artftlauderdale.com. You can find out more by subscribing to our newsletter at the bottom of our website. I promise it's not spammy. And you can also find out more about Fort Lauderdale Art and Design Week at www.ftladw.com. That's www.ftladw.com. Find us on social medias. Feel free to connect. I'm Evan Snow.
Come meet the artists.
Come meet the artists. Come have brunch with the artists, dinners with the artists, drinks with the artists. We're going to have after parties almost every night at some of the hotels on the beach. Opening night, VIP reception with participating artists, sponsors, VIPs, Wednesday, January 23rd from 7 to 10 p.m. at Pier 66 Hotel and Marina. That's also one of our only Art Fort Lauderdale fundraisers of the year. So if you want to support us, we genuinely appreciate it. You can feel free to purchase a ticket to that event. Come out and attend. We look forward to having you join us for the 3rd annual Art Fort Lauderdale, January 24th through the 27th, 2019. We'll see you there.
Looking forward.